We're on the verge of what looks like a pretty significant transfer going through in the Championship, that being Nathan Broadhead from Year 1 parachute side Ipswich to newly promoted ex-League One side Wrexham for a reported £7.5 million. This is your friend and mine, Stuart Watson of the East Anglian Daily Times. Understand Wrexham are closing in, this is last night by the way, on the signing of Nathan Broadhead after thrashing out a deal with ITFC tonight in the region of 7.5 million, unsure on structure, for a player who was entering the final year of his contract. A return to North Wales. Get your thoughts in via the comments. I'll tell you why I think this is a significant one to do with Ipswich's status, Wrexham's status, the division as a whole and what's happening with these promoted teams, and for me personally as a football fan after what Broadhead has been involved in at my team Ipswich the past couple of years. Broadhead, the player, Welsh international. I mean, you sign players, you just want good players wherever the hell they are from. But I do think it's significant that Wrexham, obviously, you know, it's the EFL, the English Football League, and Wrexham out there in Wales. They've been very good at storylines and narratives, Wrexham, and it doesn't surprise me that they want a Welsh influence in their side. They're also apparently linked with Kiefer Moore, so we could see a double Welsh international signing over at Wrexham. Broadhead came through at Everton through the academy there. First kind of came up on my radar, and here comes a run of 3 consecutive promotions. Wrexham fans will like this. This guy stinks of promotion. A promotion specialist, no less. Went down to Sunderland with Alex Neil. Some injury problems there, but did contribute and was well liked at Sunderland in their promotion from League One. He's off to Wigan for half a season. I think that was the year Kolo Touré was there for about 10 games, and a bit of a chaotic season. I think points deductions and all sorts that year, and relegation for Wigan. Also played as a number 9. And when we discuss Broadhead's profile as a player, that's not really his deal. But midway through that season, off he goes to Ipswich Town. Huge difference maker there. Again, promoted from League One. And then, again, another promotion and a key player, Broadhead, for Ipswich in the Championship as they went coast to coast. League One, Championship, Premier League. Okay, we're going to get relegation now on his CV, but I think apply the nuance there, and Ipswich's status as a double promoted team in League One, Championship, Premier League, maybe doesn't fall at the feet of a single player in terms of judgment for that. I said not a number 9, but in the kind of modern 4-2-3-1 systems, 4-3-3 with the wingers doing a lot of the goal scoring and that type of thing. Any of those positions there. Left wing, right wing, inverted, orthodox, number 10, 4-2-3-1, whatever, any of those positions. Just a very clever player who will pick up pockets of space, makes things happen, will dribble the ball, will take shots, will try through balls, makes defenders defend, and, you know, sets up things and makes chaos happen and makes good things happen for the attacking players he's playing with. In short, my type of player, the player you need to unlock tight games and things of that nature. Look, there is the idea, little bit of a luxury player in terms of, is he going to hold his end up physically and occupy centre-halves for entire 90 minutes? No. Is he going to drift in and out of games like players of this nature do? Yeah, maybe. Is he a complete physical beast who's going to play 90 minutes of every game? No. Can he win you the game, though, in the periods when you've got him the ball and he's on song? Absolutely. We often get this when players leave clubs, and fans often struggle with players that have moved on to wish them well. They feel like, oh, once a player has left their club, they've deserted them, and they feel kind of personally affronted by it. So, look, you'll get Ipswich fans who will actually fairly reasonably say, look, is he the first choice kind of winger or number 10 at Ipswich next season? Probably not, given what's been signed with the Premier League TV money. You'll probably get some more unkind comments saying about, the fee being a lot. Maybe they're right as well. Maybe it is a big high one. Maybe Wrexham want to make a statement for this particular player, especially given final year of contract. I'm not sure whether there's an option in that contract as well for an extra year. That's normally a thing that happens at Ipswich. So it may actually be 2 years of contract to go. I don't know about that. People will say, about physicality, like I mentioned, and about injury stuff. I'm always very annoyed when people, criticise athletes for getting hurt, especially in a contact sport, and particularly that run through with Wigan, Ipswich, the 2 seasons there. He pretty much played right throughout and has had injury problems then in the 2 seasons either side. So think of that what you will. On the one hand, it's a deal that you can't really turn down if you're Ipswich because of the fee. On the other hand, as I'll come on to, it's a player that means a lot to a lot of Ipswich fans, me included. But in terms of it being significant, it's a real, kind of flag in the ground now for the club I support that they have gone to the other side now, where for years Ipswich struggled and, couldn't compete against parachute teams in the Championship. And now it's that David Mitchell gif, isn't it, of, are we the bad guys? Well, it's nice if you support one of these teams, isn't it? But this is Ipswich essentially being able to sell a squad player, if you assume that Jaden Philogene is going to take that kind of position over on that wing, or I don't know if the number 10 position is going to be Sammy Smodics or Jack Clark or whoever. But that you're now able to sell a squad player for £7.5 million. And I know Ipswich have sold Liam Delap this summer for much, much more, but that's different. That's not a, Championship player to another Championship club. That's someone really climbing the ladder and going up to Chelsea and, elite football there, and already a Club World Cup winner. But it was a bit of a dawning for me. Oh, that's where Ipswich are trading now. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, Ipswich now linked with Hayden Hackney as well. So if this is in a Championship, Championship to Championship spending, where the money's going from Wrexham to Ipswich and then possibly off to Middlesbrough, and it's spreading round, the non-parachute teams of Middlesbrough are going to do that deal with Ipswich, then is that necessarily a bad thing? Money circulating in the division and not just going within the parachute teams and up to the Premier League, etc. So that may not be a bad thing. In terms of Wrexham, I mean, woof, wow. Birmingham took all the headlines in the early part of the transfer window with some monstrously ambitious business. And then we did a video last week and I put the thumbnail with 4 signings for Wrexham. And Lewis O'Brien, I think, was a club transfer record. And that's a player who's been, obviously, in the Premier League with Nottingham Forest, got to the playoff final with Huddersfield. So plenty of evidence that he can do it at Championship level. By the way, plenty of evidence that Josh Windass and Ryan Hardy can do it at Championship level as well, who have all gone in at Wrexham. And now you're taking a player in Nathan Broadhead for a big chunky fee, and we can talk about PSR, but we know Wrexham's revenues, particularly in League One, were to die for in terms of commercials. And I remember even hearing, perhaps when they were in League Two, they were bringing in competitive, in terms of other Championship teams not in receipt of parachute payments, competitive, income into the club. And here we go. Obviously, you've still got your hard 39 million quid 3-year loss limit. that's much easier to cope with if you go straight through to the Premier League. That's going to go up for the 3-year period, and so is your TV revenue. So we'll see the financial side of it. But it feels like this is now Wrexham's flex, isn't it? And yeah, I'm sure we'll get some unkind comments saying, okay, take your Ipswich reserve for $7.5 million, and Kiefer Moore, another player who has got plenty of promotion sort of calibre in his CV as well. But it feels like very, very much they're going for the proven, been there, done it, Championship, EFL, stalwart, guarantee players. So for Wrexham's status, and I think it just says to the football world as well, Wrexham really do mean business if we didn't know it already. For the division, it's just absolutely fascinating, isn't it? That you've got two teams coming in from League One that are, I mean, I've said immediately just going to go into the top half on pitch-wise, but finance-wise, other than the parachute teams, you know, who else is there? With Knighthead and Ryan and Rob as owners pumping the money in and the momentum from promotions from League One, and in Wrexham's case, National League, League Two, League One as well. Clean sweep would be a just balmy, absurd, mad story, wouldn't it? But for me personally, yeah, it's just the end of an era, this, and only a kind of short one that's blazed quickly. That's what happens when you go back-to-back promotions. But Nathan Broadhead was the player who came in halfway through the season. And there's always a player like this. You know, okay, the groundwork may have been done with signing Sam Morsey or Leif Davis or Connor Chaplin or whoever. But there's always a player that just comes in and is the last piece of the jigsaw and makes the difference. And I just bloody love Nathan Broadhead. In that League One promotion, Ipswich kind of infamously went to Bristol Rovers on Valentine's Day and drew 0-0. And it looked like they'd messed it up, and Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday were going to take the top two. And then they went on a sensational run. I think they won like 12 in 13 and 10 clean sheets. And Broadhead was just all over it. And in the big games, probably going to go down as one of my favourite ever Ipswich games, where they went to Barnsley midweek in this vital game. It was Broadhead who opened the scoring in the big games. He seemed to be the guy that didn't have the, oh, here come Ipswich, you know, it's a big game, this is where we bottle it. You know, he just went in and just did the business. And then in the Championship as well, I mean, you can argue that by the end of the season it was more about Amari Hutchinson doing the business, but Broadhead was sensational, and particularly to get Ipswich going, the momentum at the start of the season. He scored the first goal, didn't he? Bit of a jammy one at Sunderland against his former club. He scored, I always remember a game against Cardiff where Ipswich were 2-0 down, and you talk about Ipswich's fated promotion and everything seeming to go for him. He was the one that took the ball and just smashed it into the top corner and got Ipswich back in the game, turned that one around. Scored against Norwich. Look, he probably should have scored a hat-trick against Norwich, and we wouldn't be talking about Ipswich not having beaten Norwich for 100 years. But yeah, just a player I absolutely love. And now Sam Morsey has left Ipswich this summer. Massimo Luongo, the other central midfielder from that team, has left Ipswich, and now looks like Nathan Broadhead is going as well. So just from a purely emotional standpoint, I'm sure you've had it at all your clubs. It's a deal you can't turn down because of the money and it being the, you know, quote, the last year of his contract. But it always makes you a little bit sad when a player who you just, you know, anyone asked me this period who, you know, the double promotion, who was my favourite player? It was Nathan Broadhead. So there we go. From a personal point of view, very, very, very sad. Not necessarily to see him go, but that era ends, and that player who was the guy, very much like Marcus Stewart, who arrived midway through a promotion season and was the guy that was just the little special sauce and the last piece in the jigsaw. So A significant transfer all way around about to happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Nathan Broadhead is going to be heading to Wrexham for a hell of a lot of money if the reports all come to pass and that one goes through. Right, what are we linking to today? What did we put up on the channel yesterday? Click up there. Oh, Sheffield Wednesday again, wasn't it? Oh, God. So on the one hand, you're going to have some very excited Wrexham fans commenting on this video. On the other hand, some very depressed Sheffield Wednesday fans. And we talked about the latest goings-on at Hillsborough. Danny Roll out, and the North Stand's going to be closed as well.